2, 1.
Well, I pulled out of Pittsburgh just rolling down that eastern seaboard. For me, it's never about, this is gonna sound funny, but I never wanted to be a fantastic bass player. I just wanted to be a bass player that played with a drummer. That was the most, to me, that was a magical moment when there was somebody, playing drums, and I could add a melody, so to speak, a bass line to that. And when you're playing at the same time, or when you play a little bit in front of them or a little bit behind them, there's just that little slight difference, and you have this it's a feeling. It's not even it's not even mechanical, really. I mean, I guess it is when it ends up getting down to your fingers, but I just love that. I just love that feeling. And I love in the middle of the song just saying, you know what, I'm gonna back off a little bit, and Al and I played for a long time. I love that communication, just looking at each other and knowing, and sometimes not looking at each other when you know what's gonna happen, and that thing it comes at the same time and all that. So I really, you put this bass in my hand and you want me to play it in front of people, and it's just it's hard for me to do, because I think it's not the purpose of the bass. Nothing against people that solo and do slap bass and things like that. It's amazing. It's something that I've never aspired to do, probably because I don't think I could do it. I love to, like I said, I could do that all day long with a bass drum and a snare. I could literally play a song for 2 hours with that and just watch everything that's happening. And then to have a great guitar player, putting stuff over the top of it, whatever. That's where I feel like I'm kind of in my element. So. So I have a Mercalli just like this. It's more of a natural color. The Reverend basses, for the money, great bass. I forever have played Music Man basses, jazz basses, had a G&L. I like a thinner neck profile. Although the other day I picked up a P bass, and it felt nice. I think in my old age, I'm enjoying the space between the strings or something like that. But no, this is where I feel at home. I went to an Eric Clapton concert, and Nathan East was playing bass, and it was one of the most amazing experiences of any live show I'd seen where I was really focused on the bass player. And it was like hair standing on your, standing up kind of a thing. It was so cool. And at the end, he did a version of Can't Find My Way Home. And it I am actually, the hair on the back of my neck is standing up as I'm remembering that particular thing. It was so amazing. And he's a great bass player. He can do anything. But what he does best is that's what I love. You just support what everybody else is doing. You've got your opportunities to have some fun and to do that. But I just admire that so much. Lee Sklar with, particularly some of that R&B, James Taylor stuff and whatever, that's also, I just love cranking that up and playing that. That, to me, the bass, and I grew up, in an era where a lot of that rhythm and blues stuff was still playing on the radio or whatever. But for me, the bass has a purpose in getting people moving, right? That's like what gets them up. I've always played in bands or dance band kind of thing. And so I always felt it was kind of our responsibility, me and Al, to get them up off their butt and get them dancing. So the jazz bass is just an iconic bass, basically. Back to what I said earlier, this is just, I just always like a thin neck. It's just easier to play. It's a lot more, it's just more comfortable. I have every bad habit that any guitar player or bass player could possibly have, because I was one of those people that just learned pretty much on my own. Tried taking lessons a few times, and I have the attention span of like a very small insect, and so it's very hard for me to just do rudimentary things, and it drove me crazy. And it drove the teacher crazy that I had, because I wouldn't practice. I wouldn't do my lessons. I'd just like listen to stuff and try to make my bass sound like that. So for me, it's way easier to alternate the tone with my fingers than it is with a pick. And I play hard, and so a pick has just got too much of a clicky, picky kind of a sound. It kind of goes along with, I just feel like the bass is supposed to support everything, and it should just be more mellow. And to me, it's far more mellow, or I can stand on it if I need to stand on it. And yeah. So if I'm just walking, if I want to stand on it a little bit more. Depending upon the style that somebody wants to get into, that's going to really, I'd say the amp will be more important than the bass in terms of choosing your first rig. I still go back to the fact that it should feel good. If it's a young person starting out and they're actually bigger and they like the space between the strings, then I would say just you got to go with what feels right. As far as the pickups and things like that go, for me, it's really simple. You're either going to have pickups that are going to be supportive, like we talk about, where it's just going to have a nice, smooth, go lock in with the drummer kind of a thing. Or if what you're playing is a more pronounced type bass line, more pronounced type music, if you're playing rock and things like that, then you probably do want a pickup that's going to cut through, is going to have more mids, that kind of a thing. I think you should just come into here or any store and try things out. The combos, the small combos that are inexpensive, for $99 to $159, there are so many choices. Fender, Orange, just so many choices, and they sound great. They don't sound anything like the stuff we had to deal with when I was a kid.